like it.
More like Elite Full Restore. Hello.
Good.
Welcome to Elite Full Restore, your favorite Pokemon podcast, with your hosts, Ori,
Hey.
and I'm Matt. And with us, we have a very special guest today. We have Aaron Cybertron Zhang with us.
How's it going, guys?
It's going pretty good. I'm like super into Pokemon Go right now, which is a good place to start.
I'm so addicted. Oh my goodness.
How
I
was that?
unfortunately
You were up on the stage for the big reveal and everything like that. How did that go?
Yeah, it was crazy fun. I never would have thought I'd be invited to something like that, but it was a blast. Got to meet, Ishihara, Masuda, Miyamoto, which was crazy, and it was cool because I got to, field test and beta test the game before everyone else was playing it. So, I had a good sense of what to expect, but I did not expect it to blow up like how it has and how it's really captured the number one gaming spot already. And it's crazy. Like literally everyone in my city is playing it. Everyone I've seen is playing it. I actually talked to like people on the train today about it, and it's mind blowing. But it's a beautiful thing to see.
What was like the biggest I guess like surprise for you apart from like the just immediate like reaction?
At the time, I think people were just like, "Oh, this is really cool." Like, I didn't know they're planning on implementing these new features, and I was surprised that it seemed like they had a really long game plan, which is good, because I think like this game's really sustainable if they keep it up and add new features. And then once it came out, I guess what also surprised me was just seeing everyone, literally everyone, people who literally like haven't thought about Pokemon in years, like all my actual friends playing the game. I was like, because my regular friends out of the Pokemon community, they follow it here and there, but it's nothing too big. Like most of them stopped playing the main series games a while ago, so now like seeing all these people play it once again is crazy, but it's awesome.
What I've noticed is that some people who never really even got into the main series games all that much, like, but they were around for the Pokemon hype, they maybe played Red and Blue, but at most, like, their interaction with the Pokemon craze was probably the anime a little bit, a couple of bits of merchandise, and then they moved right on. But even some of those people who really never had the huge attachment that people like us would have had with it, are getting into the game as well. Like, I've seen adults whose kids played Pokemon who are getting it.
I have to ask, what is Miyamoto like in person?
He's a pretty big troll. During rehearsals, like he was supposed to announce the price of the thing was $35, and he kept on saying 10 as a troll, and we were like, no, you can't say that in the real thing. Everyone's gonna like believe that, and he was like, ha ha ha. But yeah, he was super. Like he always just has the biggest smile on his face. He looks so excited all the time, and it's fun.
So the whole like friendly grandpa like your uncle who like my uncle from Pokemon, like I guess like facade that he puts up, that's real in person.
Yeah, it's straight up real, man.
God, that's wild. That's everything I would have expected, honestly.
He just has like this childlike energy to him almost, like this boundless enthusiasm that's always there, and I really appreciate that about just like the way he talks about everything.
Yeah, that's a great way to describe it.
And then on the complete, I guess, other end of it, you also commentated nationals like the last week or so. How was that? What was your experience like over in Columbus?
Yeah, it was weird being on the other side since normally I'm competing, but it was a lot of fun. I think Pokemon really upped their game, and I have big expectations for the future since they're clearly putting the effort and the money and the time into it, and the resources. And like the backstage crew was insanely awesome. Everyone was super nice to work with, and we just had so much more resources this year. The only issue is like having four commentators. We were a little bit short-staffed, so we weren't able to do as much as we would have wanted. But I thought overall the event was a huge success. Crazy tournament with so many upsets and super fun commentating. Kind of surreal being on the other side. Just because I've been on the other side, having played on stream and being interviewed, and then this year I was doing all the interviews, and it was a blast. I think just seeing so many newer players come up and have such great success, and seeing them really be so inspired was a great storyline to follow. And overall, it was just a ton of fun. Definitely draining, and I lost my voice, but a ton of fun.
What do you think you prefer that to like actually competing, or do you really feel like you want to kind of step out of the public eye as far as competing goes?
No, I'm definitely not done competing, but for nationals
Thank
specifically,
God.
like they really needed a fourth commentator, and they were running out of time, and It's always kind of been a dream of mine to commentate an event, so I figured might as well, since this is kind of a perfect opportunity. I'm qualified for day one of Worlds, and I honestly love both competing and playing. I think playing is a lot more stressful because when you're trying to win a championship, there's just so much that can go wrong. Whereas commentating, it's like a pretty safe, secure thing, and it's a ton of fun. But it's kind of risk versus reward, right? Like it's higher risk to compete because you can come out empty-handed with nothing, but if you win, like that's amazing. Whereas commentating, it's a little bit on the safer side. Yeah, you're guaranteed stuff, but you don't get the chance to become national champion. So definitely felt missed out on competing, especially seeing so much exciting stuff go on this year. But it was worth sacrificing 1 year, I think, since I've played in the last 6 years of nationals.
One thing I wanted to ask about commentating is that Pokemon's like a really jargon-heavy game environment. Like, how do you like to approach the idea of kind of sanitizing it a little bit so that people who aren't necessarily really big in the competitive scenes can still understand what's going on?
Yeah, it's super helpful that I do color commentary as opposed to play by play. So having a color commentator who knows like, oh, how do I describe what's going on in the game to people who might not be as well versed is super helpful. And when it comes to color, or having a play-by-play person do that is super helpful. When it comes to being color, which is what I do, at that point, hopefully your commentator, your co-commentator has kind of conveyed what's going on, and you got to draw a line, right? Like there's some line where it's like, okay, if they don't understand it, then they probably just don't understand it at all, and what I'm saying won't go through to them regardless. But basically just kind of simplifying things, making sure you don't use any crazy terminology, and making sure like you kind of look at it from the other perspective and explain what's going on a basic level, but then also in depth as well.
Yeah, because one thing I noticed is that you guys don't really like when describing the stat sets for different Pokemon, you don't necessarily say like this Pokemon's got its EVs set into this department and it's got this nature. You'll more say this Pokemon is trained in defense, like, or he runs a defensive set. And I understand what you were doing the other way, but I felt like it was really a really accessible way to watch it, and it was really easy to follow.
Yeah, definitely. That's a great observation. It's just something Pokemon themselves stress as well, since not everyone knows what an EV or an IV is. So being able to still kind of convey the same thoughts, but on a more basic level, is helpful for those that might not understand it, and those that obviously do understand it know what we're talking about.
More on the technical end, I guess. What would you say is your take on the metagame this year so far? I know it's been kind of a pretty heated point of contention in the competitive community, but would you say this metagame is more suited to a casual player, or do you feel like it's gone a complete 180?
I think it's probably one of the easier years to get into VGC. Like this year we've seen more of an influx of kind of newer players have really tremendous success, and that's because one, they've been able to really grow to become really good players quickly, but two, I think in general it's just like previous years kind of rewarded defensive play, so you could really make a ton of switches even if you were in a poor position. It's one of the reasons why like Wolfie Glick's been such a good player, whereas this year he's had success obviously, but I think like nationals he tried that defensive play style. It didn't work out as well just because this format is so hyper offense in general, and the metagame kind of felt like it regressed since like people were trying to counter Groudon Xerneas, and then Groudon Xerneas was on every team at nationals, or almost every team. We saw a couple cool teams in the top 8 or top 12, but like half of them were Groudon Zern, and then in the finals obviously it was like a Groudon Zern mirror match. So Worlds should be interesting because like these teams are definitely counterable to an extent, but team building is definitely a little bit harder in this format, I think, because there are only so much Pokemon and strategies you can use effectively.
Have you seen anything on the international end that maybe would point to something like completely random going up? Because I did get a chance to glance through the top 8 for Japanese nationals, and it, like, I think all of the top 8 ran some form of Groudon or Double Weather. So I'm wondering, is there any like team type or anything like that you'll see like pop up, you think, at Worlds?
Yeah, I mean, all the European nationals and Japanese nats, like out of those 4 events, none of them were actually won by Groudon Xerneas, and I think that's why like the Europeans actually look really strong going into Worlds this year because they've been really effective in countering it. We saw Dual Primals win, we saw Groudon Evoltal win, we saw Rayquaza Xerneas win, and then those were the 3 respective European championships, and then Groudon Rayquaza over in Japan. So, obviously you don't need Groudon Xerneas to win, and players have been finding counters. So I think like there's only so much you can do in terms of restricted combos. Rayquaza Kyogre is something I still have high expectations of. I think if you can really figure out the perfect team for that, it will be so good. Especially because Kyogre just naturally has such a good matchup against Groudon if you can just outspeed and pick up the knockout. Obviously, it's not that one-dimensional, but Rayogre is something I think still needs to be explored a little bit more. And then like other archetypes, like we've only seen a couple players use Rayquaza Groudon, Rayquaza Xerneas, Yveltal Groudon, so those could be worth looking into as well. But it's still going to be Groudon Xerneas and maybe Dual Primals as the top two going into Worlds.
Obviously, the strategy of it is a lot more in depth than people will notice on the surface. But do you ever worry about the fact that like a lot of these teams are carrying the same Pokemon? Like the guys who won, the guys who were in the finals for U.S. Nationals had like one different Pokemon on their team. And for someone who's watching, who's not very familiar with the nuances of the competitive environment, it can seem a little samey.
Yeah, undoubtedly, and that's why I think this format, just hasn't been as well received by the casual or the viewership. It's why like Nationals viewership wasn't exactly the highest, and it's a shame, right? Because Pokemon's putting all this effort into streaming, but that's why I think it's like if they choose a good format next year, it's going to be so good because like everyone's going to want to play, everyone's going to want to watch, and there are going to be so many creative teams used that like Worlds 2014 was probably one of the coolest tournaments, and we saw a ton of awesome stuff. I mean, obviously Seiya Park's Pachirisu was the talk of the tournament, but that entire top 8, top 16 had really cool teams, whereas this year, like I think at Worlds, I'm not expecting too much creativity, honestly, just because I think like we might see like one crazy Pokemon on a team, and that's awesome. Like that could define and make that difference. But at the same time, like for general viewership, it does kind of suck because it's there's 6 kind of combinations of restricted legendaries. There's a Groudon on every team, or a Kyogre or a Xerneas, and that kind of sucks. But I mean, that's VGC in a nutshell. I feel like every year there's like maybe a couple Pokemon that are seen so often, but it's even worse this year, obviously, since these legendaries are even stronger.
Before we move on to Pokemon Sun and Moon stuff, I just had the couple of questions that came in specifically for you were more or less along the lines of the question I just asked. It's how does VGC stay fun and interesting with the same Pokemon? But one of them had a follow-up question in it, and that is, how do you think we could revitalize the VGC metagame? Like, what would you want the format to be next year in a way that would possibly make the metagame more fun to watch for people who aren't as much on knowing the intricacies of battling, but want to see a bunch of different Pokemon battle it out? Like, what would you think would be the best way to go about that?
Yeah, I think in general it's hard to say because we don't know anything about Sun and Moon, but Sun and Moon restricted deck sounds interesting. I think that's the thing that most people are expecting, and I know I'm probably expecting that. With those metagames, like typically early meta, we don't see too much creativity, but then when it comes to Worlds, like people are busting out like crazy stuff, as we saw both in Worlds 2011 and 2014. So I feel like just doing a Sun and Moon only Pokédex would be really good because it also restricts legendaries, so suddenly like, it's much more accessible to players who are getting into it since breeding is a lot easier, whereas catching legendaries can be still a little bit difficult. So that's what I'm expecting and hoping for, but who knows, like without information on the game and the Pokemon, it's kind of hard to say exactly.
What would you say was your favorite metagame as far as that goes? And it's kind of a cop-out if you pick one of the ones where you won Worlds, but I would be curious as to your answer on that one.
Haven't won a Worlds yet, but I would say actually 2013. That was the year I did best at Worlds, but I think 2013, like I used so many different teams that year, all to pretty good success, and it's like team building was so open, and what you could use, like it was like we saw a Magmar, a Marowak, a Sableye in top 8 of Worlds, Jellicent, and Bulbasaur. Like there was a lot of cool stuff at Worlds that year, and it was just a really fun metagame. Like it was a little bit hyper offensive with Gem still being a thing, but you could also build defensively. Like 2012, 2013, I thought were like 2 of the best years of VGC. 2014, I liked it at Worlds. I think like honestly, no one really used Gothitelle well enough until obviously Seijan and then Wolfie, and then like Goth Mawile became a thing, and that was just so strong. And I think like if that was discovered earlier on, everyone would be using it in my opinion because it's just so darn good. But I think I enjoyed 2014, but probably not my favorite. 2011 was definitely fun. Although I don't know, there was just so much Thundurus, so many Terrakion speed ties and rock slides, and anytime you have a format where rock slides like so good. And I guess that's every format, but that year especially, like rock slide flinches were everywhere. I think 2015 was very skill based, honestly, and that was definitely a fun one. But all-time favorite 2013 for sure.
A surprising lack of Innova decks only, which I'm kind of disappointed in, but that's just because you hate me. We're gonna move into Sun and Moon talk right now. Who's your favorite?
That's tricky. It's gotta be. I think I actually love the new Ghost Pikachu. It's so cute.
It's literally perfect. Like it's just so good, and it's such a creative idea. I mean, I suppose they've done like the kind of discarded toy idea before with Banette, but this is more in the vein of like it's imitating the toy because it wants to be loved, and I think that's like it's good meta commentary on Pikachu too.
Yeah, exactly.
Now its ability false colors. Did they mention that at all? Have they talked about that yet?
I've seen some places call it false colors and other places call it disguise. So, given that they haven't seemed to have actually translated it officially yet, I don't think they've actually revealed what it does.
Yeah.
And then let's see here. What were the we didn't talk about Charge a Bug, which we've already gotten questions about, calling it arguably the best Pokemon ever. I will not call a bus the best Pokemon ever, but it is definitely cute.
I love that it looks like a subway car. I don't know if any of the listeners would know this. I'm sure a couple of them do, but I really, really like trains. Like I'm super into trains. And I'm super into Pokemon, so obviously a Pokemon that looks like a subway car is gonna be right up my alley.
I can't believe it only took us 20 minutes to get back to Matt likes trains. That's so great.
But yeah, I'm interested to see how its ability battery plays out. It says it's supposed to give a boost to special attacks of people on the field with it, but like, how good of a boost do you think it is?
If it's anything like Lightning Rod, it'll just be that one stage up, but it's to the ally, right? It's not for the Pokemon
Yeah,
itself.
like it's a
Which is
passive boost as
interesting.
far as I know.
Well, that could be useful. Maybe we can finally get Bojack's mono electric team going for him, which would be nice, but we shall see. Vikavolt, what do we think?
I kind of wish it looked more like a form of transport.
You don't like that it looks like a jet engine?
I mean, it
I
kind
think it's
of
pretty cool.
it is pretty cool, and I like the idea of giving a bug electric levitate. Like obviously it's neutral to ground, but just giving that extra edge. Maybe it could replace Galvantula in my heart.
Nothing can replace Galvantula. I used Galvantula to great success in 2010, the year after Innova Dex only was open. But God, it's fun. Levitating electrics are just super super interesting. I'm so sad that we don't have more of them. Drampa, which is everyone's grandpa. Um, Aaron, does this look like Miyamoto to you? Do you think this is a direct representation?
This one just feels like a meme. That's what I think.
It's the most common thing I see is that it's supposed to be more evocative of like literally like dragon costumes.
Chinese New Year kind of
Chinese
thing?
New Year festival, yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not really sure. Like I saw the design, I was like, you've got to be kidding. But it's awesome. Like I love all the new Pokemon, especially that one.
We're gonna test the validity of that statement. Bruxish, is that this one? The one that's a knockoff of the Hawaiian triggerfish?
Yeah, okay.
Okay, you got me there.
Yeah, I was gonna say I have to try to pronounce the Hawaiian triggerfish's Hawaiian name.
Yeah, I can't wait. Here we go. Aaron, get ready to laugh.
Humu humu nuku nuku wapu waha.
No,
Uh,
it's okay. So the Hawaiian triggerfish is this little like weird. It lives in reefs, and the last time I went to Maui, we actually like went snorkeling or whatever it was, and there was this lagoon, and there was a ton of them that lived in there. It's Humu Hunu Kunu Kuapua'a. Like you don't add H's to it. It's you pronounce each syllable in Hawaiian like on its own. It's really strange. But essentially how it swims is the best part of that freaking fish. It like doesn't have fins on its side, and so it'll wiggle its top and bottom to move. It is the best thing you'll ever see. I highly recommend watching it on YouTube for like 6 hours straight.
So basically
I
the
will check that out
triggerfish
right after.
it's just completely flagrant at all times.
It's flagrant, yes, it's very
It
flagrant.
just wiggles its own ass.
Oh my god. So Dazzling and Strongjaw. Dazzling was interesting to me. I was hoping we'd get an ability like this that just it prevents speed priority pluses from attacking. So like no quick attack, or does it just like make it
As far
low?
as we know, it makes it so that priority moves don't hit at all. So it says this move was not you were not able to do this move is like what the ability marker will do. It'll come in and it'll say you can't use that. So it's been shown blocking I think it was Aqua Jet and Fake Out both didn't work, What we don't know as it stands right now is if it blocks moves that are given priority by an ability. So we don't know if it blocks anything from Prankster, and we don't know if it blocks anything from Gale Wings, because that would be a game changer right there.
Yeah, especially if you can protect its partner too. That'd be freaking awesome.
Oh yeah, we don't even know what it does in double battles yet. Like it's only been shown
Yeah.
in single battles, so there's a lot we have to look into for that one.
Matt needs to talk about Cutie Fly. I can feel it just brimming to the surface.
Yeah, my notes for Cutie Fly are as follows. Those are my notes for Cutie Fly.
Solid.
You're forgetting Bug Fairy Honey Friend in bold and italics, which is...
Oh, I missed it within all the screams. But anyway, Cutie Fly is really, really cute is the thing. Like, Cutie Fly is so, so cute. And if we were going anywhere with a Bug Fairy, I knew it had to be somewhere in the vein of either a hummingbird moth or a bee fly. And there we go. There's a bee fly.
I'm just... I wish and hope that this is the generation where we don't just get useless bug Pokemon and get stuff that's just usable across the board. And I'm really worried that Cutie Fly is going to follow the way of like Dustox or something really cool like that. But
or like Male Combee.
You gotta believe, man. I believe.
Male Combee, yes. Hard counter to Pachirisu. Speaking of Pecha the mouse, I'm not gonna try to pronounce that. The fat
Togedemaru. I got it. My notes for this include the sentence "roly poly cutie patootie."
Fair.
And then just the fact that I'm like super excited for the fact that it's gonna it'll probably get things like Follow Me and Nuzzle, and it can fulfill a similar role to a Pachirisu, like a Seijun Park Pachirisu specifically. Hopefully it gets a little more it gets defense to work with, so it doesn't have to like throw it all into the stats. But of course, Iron Barbs always works well with a rough helmet and can be a good Mega Kangaskhan check.
I like to think
That'd definitely be
this
cool.
is actually Seijun Park's actual team member, and he just kind of let it sit in the box and eat whatever it wanted to for a while, and this is what happened.
Yeah, that was the meme I made after I saw it.
God. What a great thing.
Seijun's Pachirisu just got fat off the spoils of victory.
It literally did. Salandit, and Matt wants to complain about this because I know how he feels about the ability Corrosion.
Okay, as long as poison types have not been able to hit steel types, I've wanted either a move or, as of Gen 3, an ability that would allow poison types to hit steel types, preferably super effectively. I don't feel like the way that the idea of Corrosion works really fits with the idea of it being able to poison everything. I feel like they should have gone with a different name for it, maybe. I don't know, but I hope it also means that poison moves can hit steel types and also that other things get it, because this kind of just seems like a thing one Pokemon gets that is also hugely detrimental to poison types.
Counterpoint, Cybertron.
I think it's cool. I'm not sure how important, like, honestly, poison will be since it's not exactly the best ability. Like, it's cute, but in doubles, like, I don't see that having a big impact unless they change, poison side effects.
Which would be interesting. I wonder if they're going to give poison its stat detriment, kind of like they did for paralysis and.
Right. I think people are like, oh, we should have a special burn, make that like decrease special attack, something like.
Or even like something like defense, like that would kind of make sense.
That would be interesting, yeah.
Yeah. Put a big hamper on people running guts to make them more of a glass cannon. And this weird bear thing, Kiteruguma. I'm not gonna try that.
Kiteruguma.
Let's go. Sure, let's go with that.
I just call it bear.
Man, that works. And I mean, a big bear whom hug. That's definitely a good description of me. Although I am not quite. Apparently, it's like 6'5" and 300 pounds. Like if you could see its stats on the Korokoro scan.
Oh yeah, it's like 2 meters tall. Good lord. Okay.
Like absolutely ludicrously big sized.
It likes to hug its trainers, but it is strong. Raising one puts your life in danger. That's me. I love that. Actually.
They haven't said what the ability Fluffy does just yet, so we'll have to wait on that. And hopefully they don't reveal it in the time between us recording and me finishing editing it, like last time.
that was so annoying. We literally last time we did this, Aaron, we had literally released it on the day that the new Pokemon got announced, and we were a week behind. It was fantastic. Highly recommended. If you ever think about recording any kind of audio, make sure you do it in the past. And Mimikyu, the weird why not Pikachu.
We've gone over this one just a little bit so far, but it is just totally so cute and such a cute idea. Apparently the just given its flavor description is it's probably not going to have disguises that relate to other Pokemon, which is fine, but a lot of people have been drawing fan art of it having disguises of other Pokemon, and that's really cute, so I'm cool with that being just a fan art thing.
Aaron, what was your favorite Halloween costume?
My favorite?
Yeah.
Yugi Moto.
Okay, you're gonna have to elaborate on that one.
I was a big Yu-Gi-Oh fan,
I want
man.
you to paint the picture for me. I want you to describe what the setup was like. Did you do the hair? Lay it on.
No, dude. I just the costume came with the hair. I had a dual disc that I bought separately.
One of those guys. Okay. Did you? What was
Hell
the
yeah.
hair like? Was it like like construction paper? Was it felt? Like what was going on there?
It was like a plastic wig.
Okay. Okay. Did you keep it?
Nope, it's long gone, I believe.
That's a shame. You should wear that the next time you commentate. Honestly, you can hunt that out on eBay.
So now I want
Okay.
you to imagine a Mimikyu is living in your house. It sees old pictures of you from Halloween. It sees that you're a really big fan of Yugi Moto and Yu-Gi-Oh in general. The Mimikyu comes up to you wearing your Yugi Moto costume. What do you say? What do you feel about this Pokemon? What are the emotions running through your head?
I'd give it a hug.
Get it the hell out of my house.
Oh, it's so cute, man.
Oh, God.
The last Pokemon we have to discuss actually leads right into our questions because we have a related question that pertains to this Pokemon. So we'll just like transition naturally into questions. If anyone's wondering where my Pokemon Shuffle segment went, I spent money on Pokemon Shuffle again, and I'm hugely ashamed of myself, so I don't want to talk about it.
Okay, how much was it this time?
Just like the second least amount. I spent like $6 again.
You're
I know.
You're gonna be in so
Not
much
too
trouble when Pokemon Go gets microtransactions.
I mean, yeah, no, I'm definitely gonna be buying lure modules, because the radio station that I volunteer and I'm on the board for has two Pokestops immediately outside it. One for the building that it's in because it's a heritage building, and one for a mural that's right outside. And our new radio station location is right downtown. So it's like right in the middle of where all the downtown festivals happen in Sudbury. So I'm gonna be like setting lure modules on that like crazy, and that means I'm probably gonna have to end up buying some lure modules. And I think that's a good cause though. That's like literally me spending it on actual advertising.
They've already been doing that. Actually, this goes back to another question we got. What was your favorite like real life Pokemon Go story? And it's that like these like local businesses have been using Pokemon Go to like draw in customers. Like there's this bar near where I live down on the hill, and like they actually like have one of the bartenders there who works there, and he just keeps using his lure modules on the like Pokestop that's nearby, and people will just hang out outside the bar like at night when it's slow during the weekdays, and they'll just come into the bar and just keep refreshing the Pokestop. It's the worst.
It's amazing.
My personal favorite story is you know how when you catch a Pokemon, it gives you like the geotagged location of where that Pokemon is, where you caught it?
Yeah.
Okay, so a girl was going through her boyfriend's caught Pokemon because he's like, "Hey, look at all these Pokemon I caught," and one of them, one of them was set outside his ex-girlfriend's house, and she found out that he was cheating on her.
Oh
Oh, I saw that, yeah.
Like when we're
Game
going into
wastes
stories,
no one.
yeah, once we're going into stories where like the question came from my friend Desi who lives in Maryland, where that was where the Pokemon Go robbery happened.
That's
So
wild.
someone set up a lure module to bring someone to somewhere that was kind of out of the way, and they were robbed at gunpoint.
Great.
Jeez.
Okay, before we move into questions, which will close out the episode, what team are you on for Pokemon Go? Just lay it on.
It's gotta be Mystic.
Mystic is the worst answer you can give. Oh my god, I can't believe you tried that.
What about you, Ori?
I'm Instinct. Instinct or die.
Instinct forever.
That's right.
Boo.
You're outnumbered, but you also have the tournament record to prove me wrong, so I guess there's that.
But yeah, The reason I picked Instinct is like the same reason I cheered for Wales and Iceland in the Euro Cup, and it's that I like underdogs. And Instinct held a grand total of 1 gym in my entire city, so I'm like, okay, that's definitely my team.
So you like the losers, is what you like. I just like the Zapdos. That was my thing. But
Well, yeah, he's the Archangel of Justice. Of course, I had to pick Zapdos. That was my other reason.
Aaron, going back to you for Pokemon Go, what was your what did you like, and what did you say was your like? What do you think they have to improve on during the next update? Because I know there are multiple things coming in the works and in future updates. What do you want to see in the next couple ones?
Yeah, I think everything needs to be more stable. First of all, like it has been a lot better since the last update, but like you shouldn't be able to like I think it sucks because I know this happened to me, but it's even worse for other people. Like you use an incense or a lure model or whatever, and then like the game just crashes for like 25 minutes and you're screwed. So it's like that needs to be fixed first of all, like consistent servers. So like really there shouldn't be any downtime. Once that's fixed out, like new stuff would obviously be cool. I think like new Pokemon, being able to trade and battle other people. But it's a really strong start so far, other than the server issues, I would say, and the like the occasional glitches, like especially with it freezing when you like catch a Pokemon or the level 1 gym glitch. Although I believe they've already fixed that.
I think the biggest thing I would like to see is maybe a more, maybe not intuitive interface, but something more descriptive. Because I know for a couple of people like myself who didn't really like, who haven't played Ingress or anything like that, they were kind of having trouble picking up on how to catch things and how to go about finding things. Even small things like I know when you're facing the direction that a Pokemon's in, the the little nearby thing will pulse in like either green or orange or however. But just even having just like an arrow or being like, there's a Pokemon this way kind of thing would be nice to have.
See, I didn't even know that because it was never made clear to me. So I didn't know that at all. So I've just been kind of walking around aimlessly and hoping things end up my way. The only time I've consciously moved towards something is when I saw a cloister on my map and then saw it disappear. So then I like tried to figure out where the cloister was, and I wasn't like using any hints. I was literally just walking in random directions trying to see if it worked. I also couldn't figure out how Pokestops worked without Googling it, like having to spin the little medallion in the middle there. Like, come on.
Yeah, that was kind of strange. My partner actually like learned that for the first time yesterday, and she's way better at it than I am. So I got a little bit of big headedness from that.
Yeah, the other thing that I'm looking forward to in future updates is like the ability to suggest and add portals. No, I guess they're not portals in this. They're portals in Ingress, but like Pokestops and gyms. Because my town is barren. Like there is like a couple of gyms downtown, but like where I live, there is nothing within like 3 kilometers of my house. Like I have to go to work to even go near a Pokestop. And there's so many parks near my house, like parks everywhere, and all of them could be stops, but none of them are.
You have to go to your local church to get a gym, I guess. It's all part of the plan. What is your best Pokemon and what is its name and where did you catch it, Aaron?
I've been farming my trainer experience, so all my Pokemon suck right now. But I think the most recent one was like a Pinsir that like 600 CP that I just caught in the wild.
Wow, my best one is like CP 296, and it's a Beedrill that I caught outside of my work because there's like a little courtyard thing, and his name is He Pointy.
I only have I only have 3 Pokemon over 100. One of them is because the south end of my city, while being completely barren of Pokestops and gyms, is completely fucking filled with Drowsy. Like it's just a friggin' stoner's paradise of Drowsy just wandering around. There's Drowsies in my gym where I work. There's Drowsies everywhere. So I've caught maybe 15 Drowsies, and so I evolved them into a Hypno who is named Seymour. He's 397 CP.
Oh my god. Seymour asses. Okay, so question time. Let's see here. Brooks asks, oh my god, why can Rhydon surf?
There's a lot
I
of
wish
ways
I
to
knew.
go with this one. Just like Generation 1 was like lousy with the number of Pokemon that could learn completely inexplicable special moves. Like you notice like the early game normal types, like your mid game ground types, your now fairy types, but also just like later game normal types. Like all of those have like relatively normal sets now. Like they learn things of their types, they learn a couple of moves off their type. But like in Generation 1, like everything was able to learn Ice Beam and Thunderbolt and like the variations of those. Like those were absolutely everywhere. And that's why like when people do runs of Pokemon Red and Blue, like for SGDQ, which was just last week, they use a Nidoking because one, the dragon types that Lance uses will only use agility against you because of that specific glitch, but then also just because of the completely wide variety of moves it can learn, can hit pretty much everything super effectively.
Well, that didn't really ever go away though. Like Golurk learned Fly, and there's just been flavor kind of got tossed out the window even with Gen 1 as far as like TMs go, because there are some weird ones.
Our next question is from Alex Leafcrunch on Tumblr. He was asking about Charjabug first, but then he went into the theories about the Island Guardians. So Tapu Koko is the one Pokemon we actually didn't remember to discuss earlier. And
Nice.
the general theory, the general theory is that all the islands have like a specific color and type attributed to them, and that the Guardian will match that. And then Magirna, of course, would be the guardian of the artificial island, which I think makes sense.
I don't. If this ends up being kind of like Azelf, Mesprit, Uxie, I hope they are good, because there was a period in Diamond and Pearl where they just got used as exploders a lot. But I just want. I don't really mind what the flavor is. I just want them to be good. I just want good, not garbage legendaries, please. That's all I ask.
Well, one thing we can get into and have Aaron weigh in on as well is the idea that I mean the ability that Tapu Koko has immediately brings electric terrain onto the field, and I often forget what electric terrain does because it's something that just never really made it in. But I feel like abilities that start these terrains and thus make it so they don't have to waste a move slot could be interesting. So like Aaron, what do you think the implications of this could be on the meta?
Yeah, I mean it's a big deal. For example, like electric terrain, has some pretty cool effects. Abilities that induce terrains are really cool because, like you said, like it's really tough giving up a slot for it. But if you can automatically get the effect, like, it's effectively like an item boost, and then not to mention like it helps out. There are more than one effect, right? So it's super helpful, and because you're not wasting a move slot on it, you can still dedicate 4 full attacks. So I'd really like to see how that can be implemented, because I think the terrains are heavily underexplored since they're just so hard to use effectively. Because giving up a move slot for it is a big deal.
I'm looking forward to that one person who always shows up at a competitive event trying to use pledges, and I hope we have more pledges just so I can see that one guy pop in again, because it's honestly my favorite thing.
I feel like the Guardians have to learn the pledge moves. Like they have to.
Or something similar to that at least.
And that leads into like the idea like there could be other island guardians. Like there's 4 main islands in Alola, I believe. That's what they ended up going with. They'd get their own guardians, like Tapu Koko is for the first island. There'd be one of a different type for each of the other islands. So they would probably all have abilities that are similar to electric terrain. I mean, the one that starts electric terrain, whose name I forget. The only terrains I can think of that exist otherwise are misty terrain and grassy terrain. So maybe a pure fairy and a grass fairy, but there is 4 islands, so there's probably one more.
Next question. Aaron, how do you choose your teams on the first playthrough of a game?
I just capture the Pokemon I think look the coolest.
What a casual answer. That's so surprising.
I know.
Do you ever plan them ahead? Like,
no, not really. I just go along with it.
Yeah, I feel like that is the best way to do it every time, is just to wing it and go by. And if you want to replace something later with something of the same type that you like better, then you could always do that. I definitely don't bother going for even natures on my playthroughs because it just seems like it would interrupt the flow of the game too much. Like I could deal with that later when I'm actually making competitive Pokemon.
It's interesting because I really like, especially when Heart Gold and Soul Silver came out and we had those leaks and we knew everything that was different. I would like and maybe I'm too old for this now, but I would like go like route by route and just be like, okay, I want this one here, and he's gonna be number 5. I want this one here, it's gonna be number 6. But yeah, natures are interesting because there is like a significant amount of like people. Like I know Scott from Nugget Bridge does this, and I know Eevee Trainer does this, where they like will soft reset the game until they get a starter with a good nature, and that's very surprising to me, I guess. I don't know.
That just seems so boring. Like, I just want to play the game already. Like, the only time I'll plan ahead, really, is I'll pick which version I grab, because I'll only ever grab one, because I'm not made of money. I'll pick which version I have based on the version exclusives and which ones I see potentially wanting to have on my team, and that's basically as far as I go with that. Because otherwise, like, I just play it by ear.
Colin from Tumblr asks, "Kill IVs." Great contribution.
I mean, we can lead into that one. We could like the idea of IVs and their pervasiveness.
Okay, I do want to pick Aaron's brain about this a little bit. Do you feel now that hidden power is not really a thing anymore because of it's down to 60 base power now? Do you feel like still selecting IVs, except for like in cases where you need like a 0 speed IV for a Trick Room team or something like that? Do you feel like they're really necessary anymore?
No, it's not necessary because I think EVs are enough. I think hidden power we still see some like ice and water are still really popular this year on Thundurus, and occasional other Pokemon. But yeah, I mean hidden powers like depending on IVs is still kind of a big deal because every year like there's probably at least one Pokemon that can use it and pretty effectively as well. So kind of hard to like throw up all of IVs. I don't expect them to do that, and especially for speed, like 0 to 31, like each number can make a difference. Like people will run something like in the middle for Trick Room or Tailwind, stuff like that.
Cool. And okay, we're gonna do the last question, and it is, which Pokemon are all about that vape life? And I'm gonna hit my vape real quick to answer this question. Coughing.
It's a great answer, Ori. My answer is Drampa, because Drampa is Willie Nelson, and Willie Nelson smokes weed, and I have a flowchart written next to my description of Drampa in my show notes. It goes, sap sipper, absorbs grass, smokes weed. So he definitely vapes.
I hate you so much. Cool. I guess that's all the time we have. We're running way over. Thank you again, Aaron, for putting up with us for an hour. We really appreciate it.
Anytime, man.
Yeah, that's all for this week. Everything I said I would link, I will have in the show description. You can follow us on Twitter at E4Restore or on Tumblr at EliteFullRestore. My name's Matt, also known on Twitter as MattGCN.
Ori, Queen Parasite.
Cybertron VGC on Twitter.
Cool. Thanks for listening, guys. Please sub. We really appreciate all the support so far. You guys are awesome.